we are back, and this is month 3 of our Blends Club, and this month we're going to be working with the Remarkable You stamp set, and it does come in 2 cases. I really like this set. It's got a large leaf and a flower here, and then this flower, which is a little bit different, and then these tulips. And just, they've got 2 sentiments, but it's a great set. This is the rubber, which we call the clear, the red rubber, which is a clear mount. And that, if you're looking to order, will be number 139894. And I'll have all of the information attached in the tutorial. So we're going to be making this card today. And we're using an old olive background base card, which is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And then a piece of cherry cobbler, and that's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then what I did, just to give a little bit of texture, I used the Hexagon Dynamic Textured Embossing Folder. And if you're not familiar with these are the ones that are a little bit thicker. If you look at that, this one is the type that when you put it through your big shot, you only use one clear platform on top, and then your base plate. You don't use 2 like we normally make a sandwich. You just use the one because these are much thicker. But what it does, it gives a really dark, deep impression. I don't know if you can see that on this dark, but it really looks nice. So I went ahead and did that just to give it some texture. And then I've used 2 pieces of our copper glimmer paper, I guess, or copper paper, and then a piece of thick whisper white. And of course we're using a Memento black, and today we're going to be working with our color lifter, our old olive, and then we're going to use our cherry cobbler. These are really dark colors, but it really makes it such an awesome, a deep color. I just really enjoy that. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go at I've cut my piece at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up my leaves. And again, I'm using my Memento black. What I normally do when I have the bigger stamps is I usually leave them down upside down on the table like this, and then I just bring my ink pad around to make sure I get enough ink on it. So okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a few of the leaves. I don't want to put too many because I don't want to take away from the flowers. So we'll put a couple right here in this corner, and then I'm going to come back, ink it up again, and then I'm going to put a couple more down here, and I'm just going to kind of angle it because I want to get a flower in here. So I think I'll put these probably not quite as big. All right, so that's going to be the top of our card. And of course, as you know, none of these cards look the same because obviously they're done different. Okay, so now we're going to take this flower, and we're going to stamp this one too. We're going to use our Memento black on this one. And I'm going to put the larger, actually, since I've got this one down lower, I think I'm going to put this larger flower right here on this side. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of the flower in the bottom right corner. So this is going to be a little bit different than the one that I initially did, but that's okay. So it always helps. All right, so we're going to have the flowers down here and then our leaves up there. All right, we're going to use our light olive and our dark olive. You can use your light Daffodil Delight, but today I'm just going to use our olives, and we're just going to work on the blending aspect and trying to give them a little bit more depth using the dark colors. Since I have these larger sizes, I'm going to use my fat tip. And remember, on the blenders, you have the fat tip here. You can look at the line, it's fat. And then you have the small tip. I'll flip it over. The small tip, which is like your pencil. And it also has a picture of that well. So it's very easy to distinguish between the two. And remember, you want to always keep this flat and keep your caps on tight because they are alcohol markers and they will dry out quickly. So always recap them when you're not using them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and color 2 of these flowers with the light color of the olive. I'm going to go ahead and do this one because I think, and you want to saturate this really well because we want to come back and we're going to color it. So you just want to color it in, get it nice and wet, and then that's going to allow our darker color for us to blend it. I'm going to come back with the darker olive, and I'm going to use that small point, and I'm just going to kind of highlight again what the artist has done with these leaves. Okay, so I'm just going to draw some lines there, and then I'm going to come back with my light color. Now I'm going to use the smaller tip because I want to get down in here and just blend. So you just want to get in here and start swirling around, because what that's going to do is that's going to move that ink that we've just laid down, and it's going to move it. So I'm going to move this up with my swirls. Now this one here, I'm going to come down because I want to try to bring that dark color down a little bit here. So if you want it darker, you just go back and add some more, and then just keep. All right, so I'm going to cap this one back. And then, whoops, no, I'm not. I'm going to come back and do it again. I'm going to use my fat tip because, again, I have a lot of room. And for me, it's just, I just like to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and do these. They're small, so I'm going to go ahead and do those 3. And I've gone out of the lines. So we're going to go ahead and use our lifter. I've been doing that quite lately. I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to go, I guess I'm getting a little bit too comfortable. So I'm just going to push it back, push the ink back while it's still wet. And you're just pushing it back in towards the leaf. And then when it dries, you'll see that it's gone away. All right, so I've got my green down, my light. And I'm going to come back with my dark again. And I'm just going to follow these lines. And I'm just going to make this section right here a little darker. And I'm just going to do a little bit right there. Okay, and then I'm going to come back again. I know it seems like it's repetitious, but you know, it's all in practice, and this is what we're going to do so we know what we're doing. And I honestly, I'll tell you, I feel like I'm getting better at this. So we're just going to, I'm just going to blend this here because I want these darks to come down. And then if you want it lighter, you can come back and add some more green, more of the old olive. And you can always tell when it starts bleeding through your cardstock, that means you're really doing well because you're getting it saturated where the ink's going to start moving. Okay, so I'm going to come back over to this one. I'm using my big tip again because this is such a large base. And I'm not going to color the whole thing because I know I'm going to get to it with my darker color, and then I'm going to come back and blend it. So here, I'm just going to darken up some of these lines here. Okay, and then we're going to come back and blend them. So I hope everyone is doing well and enjoying these videos. Shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing with your blending. I'd like to know. If you need any help, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you. And if I need to do another video to demonstrate something, I can do that as well. So just let me know. And again, as I'm talking to you, I'm just blending in, circling over my darker olive so I can blend it. Okay, so now we're going to move on with our cherry cobbler, which is very dark, but it looks really nice. So we're going to start with the light color. And again, I'm using my fat tip because I'm going to start here. And you can just see it's a really pretty color. So we're just going to color this right here and bring that down. And I'm going to go and do this little piece right here. I'll try to stay within my lines here. All right, so again, we're just going to start coloring. And I'm just going to start adding a little bit of depth right here. And I think I'm going to come up right here. All right, I'm just going to put some darkness down here because I feel like it's a little bit down towards the bottom, so the light might not be getting all the way there. So we're going to come back. Oops, I'm going to come back again with my short tip. So let me go ahead and I'm going to start blending. I'm going in circles and I'm bringing it up because I want that ink to come up from the darker color. Push it around. So I want to move that dark ink around. Isn't that a beautiful color? Just gorgeous. Look at that. How deep and beautiful that is. All right, so we're going to come back. And I'm using my big tip again because I've got this big space. So I'm just going to go around here. If you don't get it all, that's okay because you're going to come back with your dark color. Now I'm going to come back with my dark cherry. And again, I'm just going to start adding some color here. And I want to get, I think I want my darkness, whoopsie. I think I want my dark to come down here because that's the bottom of my card, my flower. And I think I'm going to follow that line here because I think that is going to look really nice. Okay, so we're going to start swirling. Now, see how I put all this dark right here? Oops, let me get to my little color, my other end. We got that dark color. So I'm going to start swirling so I can get that ink to move. Okay, and this is the lighter shade. So I'm trying to get the ink to move where I placed it. And you just keep swirling, and you might feel like you're putting too much ink down, but you're never going to have enough. So just remember, while it's still wet, you just want to keep swirling, and that's moving that ink around so you can get your depth and the colors that you want to achieve. Isn't that gorgeous? I think that is just absolutely stunning. All right, so we are going to now move on to the next flower. And again, we're going to start with our light cherry cobbler. And I'm using the fat tip again because I just want to pull the ink in. And I'm going to go ahead and do these 2 petals here. And then I'll come back with the old olive. And I'm sorry, with the darker cherry. And I'm using the fine tip. So now I'm just going to come back and do some shadowing. And then I'm going to come back again with the small tip and start doing my little swirls to move that ink. This one we're going to do in old olive. I think that might be part of a bud. So we're going to go ahead and get this, we'll ink this all up here. All right, so now we're going to come back with our dark. And I'm going to add a little bit towards the bottom because I would assume that's probably where, oops, now went out of line, so we'll have to use our little lifter. So I'm going to do a little bit down here to make it look darker, and then I'm just going to outline the lines that the artist did, okay? And then we'll come back and blend those. But before we do that, let me take my color lifter, and I'm using the small tip, and you see that red dot right there. I'm just going to push it in. So I'm just going to push the ink and get it moved back in so we don't see that. Then it slowly disappears. There we go. That should take care of that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with my lighter color. And again, I'm going to start my swirling because I want to bring these lines down and blend those together. And then here, I put a lot of dark down here, so I'm just going to swirl them, kind of move the ink around. And then I put a little line here, so I want to get my blending, so I've got a little bit of shading here. Swirling it until you get the look that you want to get. Come back with my fat tip again because it's just a little bit easier to work with. So now we're going to come back with this one, and again I'm going to put some more dark down here. I'm going to run along these lines here, and I want this to come a little bit darker, and then I want this right here to be a little bit darker as well. Okay, now I did go out of the line here, so I'm going to push this one back real quick, and you just want to just keep pushing it. It's going to push the ink back. All right, so let's take care of that, and then we'll come back with our light shade of cherry, and we're just going to start doing our swirling again so we can blend the darker color. And this is where our dark color is, so we want to blend it down here. So I think that looks pretty good, actually. All right, now, hopefully I didn't have my head in there. Now we're going to go ahead with our old olive, and we're going to go ahead and color this in here. And then I'll come back with my light again. And I think I'm going to take my red. You see that little whiteness right there? I'm going to color that in. All right, so there's that on that flower. So now we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment, and then we'll put our card together. And as you see, we've done fairly well with the saturation. Now this one, I'm going to go ahead and get everything except for the word and. So we're going to go ahead and stamp that right in this area. I'm not using the word and, so I'm going to place my stamp right about there and stamp my sentiment. And it's a little crooked, but hey, it's okay. All right, so we're going to put that there. Now let's put our card together. Okay, now because I'm putting it on a textured emboss, that was embossed, I'm going to use the Fast Fuse. It's a little bit stronger adhesive to adhere that to the top of our card. So on the Fast Fuse, you always want to make a check mark to make sure it breaks the glue. So we're going to go ahead and put this down, and this is going to go from one side to the other. It's been cut for that. All right, and now we're using a piece of our copper paper, and let me grab my snail. Silicone craft sheet. Why I couldn't think of that, I don't know. Okay, so there's our finished card. Now again, my sentiment is a little crooked, but I think it's okay because it's a homemade card. Here's the one I originally did, so you can see the difference, how I placed my flowers and leaves. And then this here, we're going to go ahead and add that is one of our rhinestones. that I've colored with the cherry cobbler, and these have adhesive on them, so I'm just going to go ahead and put one right up here. And there you go. So there's our 2 cards that we've done. Both similar, but different in the sense of how everything is placed. All right, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.